I'm beautiful. You know, that it kind of reminds me, because I don't consider myself beautiful. I consider myself cute. And I've been told, no, you're beautiful. But I had a high school boyfriend tell me that when I was in 16 or 17, he says, you know, and he had me stand up and look at it. You know, he turned around. He said, you know, Jane, you're not very attractive now. Who tells a 17-year-old that? But when you get older, you'll be a very attractive woman. Well, I'm going with that. So I consider myself a very attractive woman. But, you know, even attractive women, they have to work at it. So I've been doing some working on it. I have to say that I need to quit TikTok shop. That's all I can tell you, is I need to quit. But I have found, you know, this salve that's got castor oil and beef tallow and frankincense, which I really like, but enough of that. But today I have went to a memorial for a friend of mine, and her name was Sabrina Hernandez. She was this black lady that I have known for a long time. She was in Rotary, she was in Vita, she was a Edinburgh City, she was the Woman of the Year. She was in the chamber. She did a whole lot of stuff. And so they had this memorial service for her at the city of Edinburgh. And it makes you think. And then, you know, with everything that happened up in the hill country, there's been a lot of death running around here. Don't you think? There's just been, every time you turn around, somebody's dying. The 24-year-old dies, a 38-year-old dies. And how do you deal with that? How do you deal with somebody that's so young? And when you're 54, as she was, that's not very old. And if you're 19, you're thinking, oh, that's ancient. Honey, it is not ancient. You know, and then my best friend who passed away, Donna, you know, she used to say that when you get to be 60, you have 20 good years if you're lucky. And, you know, sometimes not all of us are lucky. She died at 67. And I was like, whoa, and that hit me extremely hard. And I go to counseling. I went to counseling for it, because when somebody's taken away from you in 6 weeks that you were expecting to go to Key West with and go watch Foreigner, and she couldn't go because she couldn't walk, couldn't talk, couldn't do anything. It is really just like traumatic. And so I was looking at things, and I'm thinking about grief, and then I go to Sabrina's memorial, and this place is huge, and there were, I bet there were 200 or 300 people, and people were coming and going, and they'd set up food, but you couldn't get it until afterwards. But everybody had a chance to talk, you know. And then I'm in Rotary, and so we did this, we sing this song called Valley Home, and there's, you know, there's all kinds of like little hand movements to it. And the president said, Jane, will you do this? And I'm like, well, of course. So I get up there, and we got the crowd kind of going, and they stood up. And when you get older, you start thinking, well, what am I going to do if something happens to me? Because we're not promised another 20 minutes of life. So whatever you're doing, if you want to do something, you better get with the program and start doing it. So how do you deal with some of this? And I looked in this, and there's hope beyond grief, examples of grieving figures, and King David mourned, and all these people in the Bible mourned. Jesus mourned. And it's just amazing how different people mourn in different ways. And then I got to thinking, your legacy, and I don't know, I was looking around at the food, and I was looking around at the people, and, you know, she meant a lot to a lot of people. And I've done a whole lot of things, but I decided that if you have to come to my memorial, what am I going to have, a memorial service or something?
Celebration of life.
A celebration. I don't even like that. Can we come up with a new term?
Party.
I don't know, but if you guys have a better idea of something besides celebration of life, okay, I guess we should watch that, right? The door. I don't want that to break. So, a celebration of life, a zest for living. That's a good one, right? We can have a zest for living party. Zest for the living. What do you think? A zest for the, write that down somewhere because I'll forget it. But a zest for living. And I'm thinking they got up there and each, the historical museum, or as I call it, the hysterical museum, they had something. But people had like speeches. And I'm thinking, I don't want someone to get up and have to do a speech for me. I don't want that. I want them to be able to tell a funny story, like, you could tell a funny story, or Josh, I don't know if he could tell a funny story or two. And I want, when you come in, I don't want you to sit down. I want there to be food already there. I don't want somebody to go, well, here's some food, but it's only afterwards. There was a 3-year-old there and say, well, can we have just a little bite for her? No, she's 3 years old. Give her a piece of cookie or something. And I just thought, I don't want to do that. And I want people to have fun. I want them to be stories. I want, oh my God, Jane did this crazy thing and she, and Josh was always going to have a cow because every time somebody says, oh, hi, aren't you Jane Cross? And he's like, oh my God, don't encourage her. But I want people to laugh. I want people to have a zest for life. I want to instill a zest for living. Oh, that's good. Zest for living. You like that? I do too. A zest for living. But then what do you do? Because, there's so many people that when they pass, there's this giant void. What do you do with the void? Well, prayer is good. And there's a time for mourning, there's a time for this, there's a time, I wish I could remember the scripture, but I cannot. I've been looking for it, and there's a time, and I think you have to give yourself a time limit. When my mom passed away, and it was kind of traumatic because somebody killed her, and so I remember I was in this fog, and so all I could say is that I was in a fog, and I was trying to grade papers, and I couldn't remember if I graded the papers, couldn't remember if I had the papers, and that was really annoying me. But then after a while you're like, okay, that's more annoying than being in the fog. So you have to give yourself a time limit. And it is scripture. There is a time for everything. There's a time for sharing. There's a time for this. There is a time for it. So if you guys are in a fog, you got to give yourself a time limit. And you have to say, this is it. I am done. And I think even Jesus said, it is finished. And that means that it's finished physically, spiritually, emotionally, it's finished. And you have to move on. Now, does that mean you forget somebody? Oh, heavens no. My friend Donna, I think about her every day. Every day. Josh thinks about her every day. Because she was a force. She was a force to be reckoned with. And funny and just full of life. Talk about a zest for living. She had a zest for living. And I think that's what I want to have you guys think about. That if you want to do something, and do it. Get up off your butt and do it. And you know what? You're never going to have the money. Nobody does. You're never going to have the time, because that time is the most precious thing to anybody. But start small. Go somewhere for a couple of days. But you need to start living. Make some experiences. And, well, how do I make some experiences? Well, you can't be sitting in front of the TV making experiences. The only thing you're doing there is making a mess. So just know that the zest for living is where you need to be. And if you want to do something, go, oh, I don't know if I should. You should. And then you should tell me about it, because I love to hear about zest for living. When somebody is going, I have my ex-mother-in-law, you'll love this. She's got to be 90, I think. And her husband, who's probably 92, and I called her Grammy. I was her favorite daughter-in-law. Just because. Anyway, so she always sends me a birthday card, and I sent her a birthday card, and she didn't pick up her her internet card from American Greeting. And so I sent her a text that, hey, you need to pick up your card. And she texted me back, and I've got it. And then she called me, and she was telling me, I said, I hear you've moved into an assisted living, but kind of not assisted living. And she goes, the best part about this is I don't have to cook. And they have socials, they have this, they have that. And she is going, okay, one of her granddaughters, is her granddaughter? Yeah, one of her granddaughters is going to be in London for Christmas. It'll be her first time that they've been out. She hasn't been home for Christmas, and she's going to go over to London and spend time with her in London for Christmas. Now, how bad is that? That is awesome. And so she goes, yes. And then her daughter Melanie and her are going to go on a Rhine River cruise in March or April. You know what? That is a zest for living. You've always got a plan. Doesn't mean you're going to get there, but you got to plan for it. You got to go, what I want is I want a torrid love affair. That's what I want. And so I'm planning for it. But you got to meet some of the people that, you want to have a torrid love affair with. But you know what? I just want you to know that in times of grief, you need to remember how wonderful the person was that you're grieving for. And you can't just block them out. Use their name. Talk about them, and don't block yourself off. Just celebrate them even when they're not with you. One of our other good friends, she was here today, and we were laughing about something Donna did. And, Donna made us buy these crazy fur coats. So the three of us walked out of this store with these fake fur coats. It was great. They were leopard. I mean, that is a zest for living. That is a memory. So you guys, I want you to know that it's okay to talk about people and loved ones that you've lost. Because you know what? It's a fact of life. We're not going to be here forever. But you know what? If you are here, you better make the best of what you can make. So you have a great hot August night. And you know what? It's August 8th on the 8th day. So I don't know what that means. Somebody said it's a lion something or other. I don't care what it is. It's a beautiful day, and you guys go out and enjoy it.
Let's go.